Hi YouTube, Brian here. So just want to show you a little bit about potting up Restrepia orchids. Here we've got a nice big plant of Restrepia chameleon, changeling. This has a certificate of horticultural merit from the AOS. You can see it's got rather lovely flowers. Unusual coloration for most of the Restrepias, this one having sort of a pale cream, almost white base with pink, a lot of them being more of a yellow base. So these do like to be repotted every few years, at minimum, ideally a little more often, though sometimes we don't have enough time to do things like that. So I'm going to take this one out of its pot, set the old pot aside, take the label, make sure that we save that off to the side as well. You can see here, nice big root system, all generally fairly healthy big white roots. If there are any old growths down at the base of the plant, we'll want to pull those away. Just tidy things up. Go right into the center. This has a bit of tree fern in the old potting mix, so I can feel it sort of crumbling here. It's old stuff. Get your thumb in and pull out the old bits here. I must admit it's probably been a little more than the 2 years since I've repotted this one. So generally, if there are old dead roots in the center, we can just pull them off. Worth taking a couple moments just to work away at it. In this instance, I'll pot this into a slightly larger pot after I tease things apart a little more. So let's set all that old potting mix to be discarded. And there we're left with our plant. In this case, I'm going to go up. I know this is a fairly vigorous clone, so I'm actually going to go up into a 3.5 inch pot. It's a bit of a big jump, but I know this plant, in relation to others, it can handle it. So get some mix down in the bottom of the pot. I like to keep the roots spread out a little bit. I see some people when they're repotting, they end up putting the roots in the center and they pack mix all around the outside, and that leaves all of these roots in the very middle of the pot where it tends to be fairly wet and have less airflow. So we want to make sure that we sort of tuck in between the roots as we go here, sort of tucking up and under the plant so that the roots aren't all just jammed as a cord in the middle where they can easily suffocate. I don't find that Restrepias like to be packed quite as tightly as something like a Masdevallia, and even they don't like to be packed into the pot too much. So here I'm just sort of putting just enough mix, making sure it's fairly gritty all around the outside edges. Again, if you need to learn how to make some mix for your pleurothalids, Restrepias, Masdevallias, all of those things, you can take a look at one of the previous videos where I just detailed making this batch. So that's all set, ready for good watering. I like to give them a little bit of seaweed fertilizer in the first couple weeks just to help stimulate some root growth and give them some nutrients. Make sure we get our label back in our pot, and that's ready to go back on the bench. Thanks, I hope that was helpful.